I'm Bernabé Moreno. I'm Peruvian polar benthic ecologist and scientific diver. So ecology deals with all the relationships between organisms and their habitat. Benthos is everything related to the bottom of the sea in this case, and polar means high altitude ecosystems, marine ecosystems. But getting a bit farther into benthos, I'm currently dealing with hard bottom communities or assemblages, and more specifically, lithophiles. That means sessile organisms. I'm relying a lot on photography, and so part of my job is building digital archives of these Arctic lithophiles in shallow waters. So any other researcher in the future, apart from myself, can also access to these archives, and they may come up with different research questions than the ones I'm having now. So for that, I'm using high resolution photography and imagery, and I'm dealing with long-term succession of these assemblages, which is quite nice, especially when you look at them at the under the microscope. They have these all these different shapes, and they're quite nice and beautiful to see in detail. We were looking for a construction in the shallows from the rubber boat, and we saw a pod swimming northwards along the coastline, uh, a pod of around 22 beluga whales as well. And I was on my diving suit, so I jumped in. You could hear the clicking, so it was pretty cool to watch as well. And then, of course, underwater you have any sort of species. You have a fish, skate rays, yeah, bony fish, cartilaginous fish, and of course you have the assemblages that I study, which is also quite nice to see in situ, and kelp forests. That's also an amazing ecosystem. In the Antarctic, you have a completely different setup of megafauna. Leopard seals, quite aggressive, dangerous. Um, but of course, the penguins. So polar bears, you can see them, and they are the largest of all bears existing now. It's incredible just to see them uh, meandering and looking for, sniffing for food. You see all these documentary films and with like really sharp close-ups of their expression and how they are using their sense of smell. Like they are predators adapted to to kill. Yeah, but also you can also have this other part of like a maternal side when they are taking care of their cubs. With the changing climate, the sea ice has been reducing significantly, and so they are using more land resources. So they are spending more time on land, and they are also changing their diet to more land organisms. And what other animal is on land mainly as humans? But yeah, these are risks and dangers we need to deal with, especially when we're working at sea. So, but there are certain protocols. There's a protocol of carrying a flare gun and a rifle, and also you first shoot. If you have an event of a polar bear approaching to you, you shoot the flare gun, and if it keeps coming at you, then you shoot to kill. You will be investigated if this happens, of course. So everything starts just waking up, preparing whatever brew you want, coffee, tea, mate, and then just look at the weather. Weather in these regions are changing very rapidly. If the weather is good, you start the day as planned the day before. If not, you always come up with a contingency plan B, plan C. You load the rubber boat with all the diving stuff and sampling stuff, depending on what you're doing, and then you set sail to the monitoring sites and do the dives. We usually have either 2 or 3 max dives per day, um, but we also rotate in the teams. So because the exhaustion can build up, but it was quite quite cool because 2 years ago there were only two divers, and we had like 3 weeks in total, and it was diving almost every single day. Uh, so it was fun. You could feel you were getting tired and all that, but yeah, it's a lot of mental work as well, and building up a good team, supportive, where you feel psychologically safe, and just say, I'm feeling bad today. I don't feel that I can do my best or to the best of my capacities. It's safe to say it, and you just change the plan. Yeah, science doesn't end there. You go back, fill up the cylinders, uh, eat, of course, and then you need to manage the data. So if you collected images or recover a logger, something like that, you need to make sure that you download all this scientific data and maybe make a backup and yeah, systematize it. If you collected physical samples, you need to preserve them and make sure that they are well preserved so you can have a look at them later at the lab or do the proper analysis. And actually looking forward to the next time that I'm at sea for a long extended period of time. But it can be hard and can work on the psychology of people as well. Um, yeah, being away from friends or family in general. That could be an aspect to consider if you want to be this kind of person that is away from for long periods of time. It's quite related to the perception of humans. Like people think when you say polar regions, yeah, they are remote and totally isolated from human impact. That's not true at all. Used to be a long, long time ago. Not anymore. Visible impact, like even trash, microplastics that arrive there, um, and non-visible impact as well, because we have all the atmosphere and the ocean connected, all this system. So whatever happening in the continent can spread towards the polar regions. Sea ice extent is a good indicator, a good proxy of how these changes are manifesting in these polar regions. So I mentioned the fact of polar bears depending on sea ice, and now the sea ice is reducing. The sea ice extent, I think they are reaching to their minima. Um, every next year is a new minima of sea ice extent, and that's probably the pattern that we should expect now. The problem is that yeah, we have a changing climate, but the pace at which it is changing now, that's the concern, and what has triggered these changes. So of course it's been mainly human activity, and sea ice in the Arctic like zero or close to zero, even during winter, is expected by the end of the century. So that's gonna have like a huge impact. The ocean is also warming itself. So again, it's like a cascading effect of many, many variables, layers, and you build a huge problem. If you ask people that has been doing research for a couple of decades, yeah, they're gonna tell you we see a change. Being at sea, I'm coming back to mother, and the questions that I find trying to solve them, trying to solve my research questions that hopefully have an impact uh, in society or in science in general. Yeah, that's one of the most rewarding things. And yeah, being exposed to the elements. And what I'm excited about is just the capability of sharing whatever I'm finding out through my research, and that's yeah, yeah, for sure something to look forward to. And another aspect of myself that I've been building or trying to build in the recent years is towards exploration. And now exploration is quite difficult. Uh, what part of the world has not been explored? Using different tools to go deeper, extending the ranges, and doing science underwater. at these ranges. That's probably something I'm also expecting to. I'm building up to. Yeah, come up with a plan and yeah, get involved. My dad always used to tell me when I was young, yeah, get inside the system. Once you are in the system, yeah, you will find your way. And of course, you first need to find a way to get into the system. And yeah, that's just uh, asking, asking, and getting in contact with organizations, institutions, or even people that have some previous experience and they can guide you. Um, but yeah, make up your plan and manifest it as well. So build a strategy. No, so in this term, I want to do this and that. Um, Working towards this direction and try to follow it. And if something changes, just keep changing your plan as well.